All right, we're back from our break, and we're gonna like actually dive in now and try to record um, the installation of some software. And as I was just telling my students here, that one challenge for me is I already have it installed, and I really don't want to uninstall a piece of software that's working great already to reinstall it again and add all the plugins and stuff that it needs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coach one of my students here who's volunteered to do the process of the installation. And basically, our target is to install two products here tonight so that we can do our work. The first one that we'll install is Visual Studio Code, and then we're going to install Filezilla. So we need both of those to get rolling in this class. Matthew, you volunteered yourself graciously to do this. So if you could go ahead and hit the screen share and share your entire screen. Anytime you're ready. There you go. And so, folks, you should be seeing Matthew's screen come up right now. And Matthew, thank you for being on the same spot in the course that I was. And so what we're going to do right now, if you could, is go ahead and click the link for Visual Studio Code. And those of you watching along, try to follow along. Now, let's first talk about what this product is and how it originated. Microsoft has been kind of changing some of their operating paradigms. So if you guys know their history a little bit, they're what we call your traditional proprietary software company, meaning that if you want to use some of their stuff, you got to pay for it, right? It's not free. That includes Microsoft Office, Windows. Like whenever you buy a computer, part of the cost of that computer is paying for Windows, for example. They do have excellent products though, right? And some of them are standards in the industry. Microsoft does have actually a full-blown IDE called Visual Studio without the word code after it. That is like, I'm going to argue probably the best IDE out there. And one of the more important coding products that you'll ever touch as a programmer or web designer or whatever. However, it is also very heavyweight, and it takes a lot of disk space, processing power, and for doing web work, most of the time, it really isn't necessary, especially for where we're starting here today. What's really cool about Visual Studio Code is they designed it to be multi-platform. So you can see from the icons, they have Windows versions, they have Linux, both Debian and the Red Hat stream, of development. So you can download package managers for both, or you can download for the Mac OS natively. Since you're, I'm assuming on a Windows machine, Matthew, you're going to go ahead and download the Windows version. Am I correct? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Okay, absolutely. All right. And you see it's dropping down to your download window there. And they have a whole bunch of helpful videos that they provide, including tutorials on how to code in certain languages. You can use this tool, frankly, because of its what I call extensibility. Right. So let me explain what that means. That means this is a software product where I download the core product, and then because it's open source, it's open to the community. People develop plugins for it to code in different languages. And if you can name a language, it probably has a plugin for it and a bunch of other tools that go with it. It's actually kind of crazy how quickly this product has propagated and become in many cases kind of like the de facto coding tool for many people. And I see that you're ready to do the install. Go ahead and click on the exe file there to launch it. But just so you guys know, in the coding world, a lot of people refer to this as VSC by the initials, or they might call it Visual Studio Code. Some people will just call it Visual Studio. That's not really technically correct, by the way. But VSC has become very, very popular. And I see you're actually pretending to read the license agreement. Wonderful. Thank you. Right. Like you have a choice if you want to install it. Yep. Accept the license agreement. Click next. And thank you for being patient with the next. Yep. The defaults should be okay. Those options are up to you. See under the other category where it says add open with code. I actually recommend that. That's actually pretty helpful in a lot of cases. All right. And it says register code as the editor for supported file types. That's fine. You can always override it later. So go ahead and click next. and then install. Shouldn't take very long at all. It's a pretty lightweight product. If we were downloading and installing the real version of Visual Studio, it's at least a 20-minute process, I would say, just to give you a comparison. In the old days, we sometimes would spend hours installing these products. All right, let's make sure it works. Leave the little checkbox checked and let's make it launch. Yay, we've succeeded. So this is Visual Studio Code. For right now, you can just let it sit there, Matthew. Now I'm going to take you back to our course homepage, and we're going to download the other really key piece of software that we need, which is Filezilla under the FTP area. Now this one's a little bit trickier to install because it's a very notable piece of freeware, but and the developers like to make money off of it, so they kind of bake in ads into the installers and stuff. So I'm going to kind of help you negotiate working around that so you don't have to worry about it. So go ahead and click the link. This will take you to the Filezilla homepage. Hopefully it's going to get taken. There we go. All right. Now, if it detects that you're on a Mac system, it should give you a Mac download by default. It is detecting that we're on a Windows system here, and the inclination, I know you're ready to click, but please actually don't. I'm going to actually have you go to the very bottom of the page there. See where it says show additional download options? Now, if you click the big green button, you get the ad laced version of the product. So this is the secret sauce, right? And I don't want you to fall into that trap. And you see they are recommending it, of course, right? We do want the 64-bit version for Windows, but instead of getting the setup program, we're actually going to choose the zip file for this. Okay, so go ahead and grab the zip file. If you guys happen to be on a Mac platform, your only choice is to download the correct one. If you're on an M chip, you choose Apple Silicon. If you're on an Intel chip, choose the Intel option for Mac. If you're not sure, go to your Apple menu and choose about this Mac, and it'll tell you what your CPU is, right? So they're different builds. If you happen to be on a Linux platform, I would think that you're probably savvy enough to know which distro you're on and which version you should grab, by the way. Okay, now that you've grabbed the zip file, go ahead and click on that from the download folder. And this will bring it up, and you want to do an extract all. You see that on your menu there. Excellent. And you can extract it right here in the download folder, and then we'll move the product afterwards. So what we're doing here, this is kind of an interesting approach. Now, most of us, when we're installing software, we just grab the installation file, and it, like the previous program, you click like, I agree, next, okay, install, thank you, goodbye, right? And you're done, right? This is a different approach. What we're really downloading and installing, and we're not really installing, we're using what we call portable software, meaning there's no installation process, and it doesn't write itself into the registry of your operating system like Visual Studio Code just did. This is basically the software as a grouping of files, and you just run it. Now, this folder currently sits in your downloads folder. What I'm going to have you do is right-click that folder and do a copy. And you want to be right on top of it to do that. There you go. And that's the Windows 11 way to copy, by the way. You could also do Control-C. Now I want you to go to your Documents folder and now create a new folder. And yeah, I don't want you to paste it. I want you to, there's a strategy here. Call this folder Software. And then any piece of portable software that you download in the future, you can just drop into this folder, right? The beauty is, right, like software like this, you can actually put it like on a USB stick, for example, plug into any computer and run it and go. That's kind of the difference. Now, what I'm going to have you do then is double click that folder and open it now that it's still pasting, right? Okay, there it is. And now you'll see that Filezilla, the red icon is present. Go ahead and give that a double click, and that will launch the product. And we've bypassed all the installers, all the nag screens. and the product is just up and running. All right. And that's the way I prefer that you guys do it. If you do run the installer and then you launch the product, you will get a bunch of ads in the installer that are going to try to, and they're not trying to trick you, but they're trying to encourage you to install their sponsors products so that they can monetize the software that they give out for free. That's the strategy. I'm just trying to save you that hassle, basically. If you did the installer and you get all those nag screens, you don't have to agree to install those extra pieces. You can just bypass them, and then you're done. But you will end up in the same place. Now that this software is running, right, what you can do, Matthew, is you could pin this either to your taskbar at the bottom or pin it to your start menu for easy retrieval. And thank you. You're excellent. Thank you so much for doing that, right? Because that was a nice little demo. Now, Matthew, you can relinquish the screen if you want, and then I'll take it back over. Now that we have the stuff installed, we can start tinkering with the software and using it, but we're not going to go there immediately. Okay, so we're going to do this kind of like in an incremental process. But for anybody that's in the process of doing the installation of the software, you saw the essential steps happen. And Matthew, you did a beautiful job of demonstrating and not being too quick going through the screens. For those in the session here, I am going to be ending this recording here in a second. I'm going to start a fresh recording in a second. And so this video basically is over, right? And that's my